Now we have the explanation to selection 3. Here we go. Here again, we're confronted with a set of paradoxical precepts, the first 3 of which tell us to destroy certain things, and the 4th, which then proceeds to tell us, apparently, to do the very thing which we have just been advised not to do. We're told to destroy all sense of separateness. Then the precept gives us the reverse side of the shield. Yet stand alone and be isolated, because nothing that is embodied, nothing that is out of the eternal or conscious of separation can aid you. Here we have 2 vital truths imparted to us, and yet the 2 are but different sides of the same truth. The sense of separateness that causes us to feel as if we are made of different material from our fellow men and women, that makes us feel self-righteous, that makes us thank God that we're different from and better than other men, is in error and always arises from the relative point of view. The advanced one knows that we're all part of the one life, varying only as we have unfolded so as to allow the higher parts of our nature to manifest through us. The lowly brother is as we once were, and he will one day occupy the same position that we do now. Don't forget that. And both he and we will surely mount to still greater heights. And as he learns his lessons better than we do, he may even outstrip us in development. And that's okay. We are bound up with the lives of every other man and woman. We participate in the conditions which contribute to their sin and shame. We allow to exist in our civilization conditions and environments which contribute largely to crime and misery. Every mouthful we eat, every garment we wear, every dollar we earn has had some connection with other people and their lives, and consequently their lives and ours are intermingled. We touch all mankind at thousands of points. The law of cause and effect makes close companions of persons apparently as far apart as the poles. What we call sin is often the result of ignorance, or at times we recoin this word and call it ignorance, and misdirected energy. If we were in exactly the same temperament, training, environment, and opportunity, would we do so very much better than they? All life is on the path. We are all advancing slowly, often slipping back 2 feet for every 3 in advance, but still registering a net advance of 1 foot. And all are really attempting to do the best they can, although often the appearances are very much against them. Let us remember the precept of the great master who warned us to cast the first stone only when we were free from sin ourselves. Let's avoid the sense of separateness in the relative sense, for it is a snare and a delusion and a parent of nearly all error. Now for the other side. Let us learn to stand alone. We must learn these lessons in order to advance. Our life is our own. We must live it for ourselves. No one else may live it for us. We may live the life of no one else as well. Each one of us must stand squarely upon his or her own feet. Each is accountable for his own acts. Each must reap that which he has sown, and each must work out her own destiny, and no one may do the work of another. Each contains within it the light of the Spirit, which will give it all the help it requires, and each must learn to look within for that help. The lessons of courage and self-reliance must be learned by the growing individual. It must learn that while nothing from without can help it, it is equally true that nothing from without can harm it. The surrendered soul or the surrendered soul ego is proof against all harm and hurt once it realizes the fact. It is indestructible and eternal. Water cannot drown it. Fire cannot burn it. It cannot be destroyed. It is and always will be. It should learn to be able to stand erect upon its own feet. If it needs the assurance of the presence of an unfailing helper, one that is possessed of unlimited power and wisdom, let it look to the eternal. All that it needs is there. Destroy desire for sensation, then learn from sensation and observe it. Because only you can commence the science of self-knowledge and plant your foot upon the first step of the ladder. The warning bids us to let drop the desire for sense gratification. And it brings to light the quote by Helen Keller that is, happiness is not attained through self-gratification, but through fidelity to a worthy purpose. What more worthy purpose is there for you at this time to discover who you really are, who your true self really is? The pleasures of the senses, taste, sight, touch, hearing and smell, belong to the relative plane. We begin by enjoying that which appeals to the grosser senses, and from that we gradually work up the enjoyment of that which comes through the higher senses. We outgrow certain forms of sense gratification. We pass from sensuality to sensuousness in its lower and higher degrees. There's a constant evolution in sense gratification in man. The things we enjoyed yesterday seem crude and gross to us today, and so it will be always as we pass onward and upward in the scale of life. We must cease to be tied to the gratification of the senses. The ties which bind you to sense gratification must be boldly cut, that you may go on your way. You do this when it seems appropriate, not arbitrarily. Turn sensation to good account by studying it and learning its lessons, that you may see it for what it is and see it for what it's really worth, and thus be able to drop it from you when it's appropriate. When we find that we experience certain sense feelings, sensations, we should weigh, measure, gauge, and test them instead of viewing them with horror or resistance. These things are a part of us. They come from our instinctive mind and our heritage. They're not bad in themselves. They're simply unworthy of us at our present stage of development. And let's say that again. They are simply unworthy of us at our present stage of development. In time, you will outgrow these things, their places being filled with something better and more worthy: intuition, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience. Now, the next precept tells us to destroy desire for growth, and then advises us to grow. The distinction in the desire for growth and unfoldment that comes to the advanced individual lies in its motive. The lower form of desire is balanced against the higher form of desire, which we call aspire, which is connected through soul directives. Desire for growth in the relative sense means desire for growth for self-glorification, self-aggrandizement, a subtle form of vanity and a refined form of selfish ambition. And this desire tends toward the desire for spiritual power to use for selfish ends, or even for the mere sense of power that such development brings, again, egoically driven. The natural growth of the being, that growth, you can compare it to the growth of a flower, gradual and unconscious in a sense, and yet eager in the sense of opening up to the beneficent rays of the great sun of life. The growth which consists of letting rather than forcing. This growth comes to us each day if we open ourselves to it. Many students torment themselves and their teachers by that very question. What shall I do? Where do I go? What's the recipe? How do we fix this? The only answer is stand aside from your labored efforts and just let yourself grow. There is a balancing act between doing and being, and part and parcel in both is letting them both manifest in your unfoldment. Go on, living your life the best you know how, doing the work before you in a manner that seems best for you, day by day, worrying not about your future life, living in the great and glorious now, and allowing the Spirit to work through you in confidence and faith and love. You are on the right road. Keep to the middle of it. Enjoy the scenery as you pass along. Enjoy the refreshing breezes. Enjoy the night as well as the day. It's all good. You're making progress without feeling the strain of the journey. The man who counts the milestones and worries about how much farther he has to go and how slow he is moving makes the journey doubly tiresome and loses all the beauty of the roadside. Instead of thinking about what he is seeing, he's thinking merely of miles, 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 and more miles, which is the course of wisdom. Everything is unfolding according to the divine design. And as you do the work you do, and as you sit and ponder on this and noodle on this, it will serve you well as you serve it. Thank you.